Hi guys, welcome to the Music B&B. I'm 315 and today I'm joined by, I want to say it right. Is it Caj Flow or Caj
Cash
Flow?
flow,
It's
cash flow.
Caj Flow. I got it right the
Yeah,
first time. Yeah. The amount of
you
artists
did.
I've listened to and I just see like the text on it and I don't know how to pronounce it. So yeah, at least I got it right that time. That's good. Would you be able to give yourself a little bit of background for the people listening?
Hell yeah, man. So I go by Cash Flow. I'm an artist, producer, songwriter. I actually started out as a producer and songwriter, and then I transitioned into being an artist as well. European, but based in Toronto, Canada now. And yeah, my genre is mostly pop, hip hop, R&B. Big focus on catchy melodies. That's really kind of my thing. Yeah, and I've just been doing music for like quite a few years now, but just keep grinding again, firing on all cylinders. So doing all these different activities, and it's my big passion. So definitely gonna keep doing that.
Excellent. Well, that's fantastic. Well, I run this independent artist review reaction channel. So any tips you can give like us along the way of, your experiences, what you found worked, what didn't, that'd be great. So you're saying you're from Europe, but you moved to Toronto. That's right.
Yes.
So where did you grow up around then?
Yeah. So it's funny. I'm actually maybe you can tell from my accent. It's a hybrid accent. I'm half British and half French, but I grew up in Switzerland
You know
actually.
what? I heard a twang. I was
Yeah.
like, I can't quite make out. I heard a bit of British in some of the words you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. So yeah, I grew up over there, but I came to Canada when I was almost 10 years ago now, when I was 16.
Right.
And yeah, Toronto is awesome. I don't know if you've been, but it's an amazing, really, really great city.
I've never gone over the
Highly
pond, but I really
recommend.
want to. Yeah,
Highly
really do
recommend.
want to. I think
Yeah,
I did have plans to. COVID got in the way and everything, and then it's just like trying to get back to it, isn't it? Um,
yeah,
where
absolutely.
where in England, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, my dad's from London.
London, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm more like Manchester, where I don't know. You can hear
Oh,
the
okay.
northern
Yes,
ish in my
I
voice, but
can.
yeah.
Yeah.
So what first got you into music then?
Yeah, so long time ago, my mom was actually a hip hop teacher. So she was doing all these like choreographies and it was really fun stuff. And basically, I would just for fun, like she would make these little music medleys, to have like different songs and to do the choreographies for her classes. And then I started kind of just going on her computer and starting to mess around with like the effects and stuff like that. And I was like 8, 9 years old. It was just for fun, you know what I mean? And then
Yeah,
my parents, they basically just thought like, oh, maybe he would be good at doing some music. So let's get him like a tiny little MIDI keyboard and like a little software. So I started with a software called Magix, and then I moved on to like FL Studio, and then that's when I started actually producing. Well, first beat making for a while. I didn't start producing until I came here in Canada. But I would just make all these beats, and try to send it to like American artists. It's just on YouTube, you know what I mean? And that it's kind of just moved that way. And then when I came to Canada, I actually started working in person with people so that I set up my studio and I had artists come over and I would produce the songs with them. And then that's how I started kind of getting into songwriting as well, because you know how it is, right? Like the artist is kind of there, they start recording, and then they're like, oh, I don't know if this sounds good, and then I start suggesting stuff, and then
yeah.
eventually I started writing full songs, and then I started selling entire songs like that I would produce and write
Oh, that's
to artists.
incredible.
And then at that point, I basically had this thing where like I had some songs that no one wanted to buy, and I was like, and you know how it is when you do all this work and you're like, damn it, no one wants to buy. And I was like, let me just release them as myself, as be an artist, and just see if it works. Actually, people love me as an artist. Like I built a whole fan base like that as well. So now that's why it's like I have all these things going on at the same time. But it's really fun because I love being an artist because it's like I can express my own artistic vision, but I
Yeah.
also really love being a support act and actually just being in the background, because like being an artist, there's all this like admin business stuff that's really hard to deal with, that people have to, even just releasing a song, right? It's a lot of
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
So I also love actually supporting other artists, and also because it lets me work on music that I wouldn't be very credible as an artist doing, right? Like that song that you reviewed, Bad Guy, that one is like kind of hip hop a little bit, but it's not
Mm.
like pure rap. Because I'm
No.
not, I love rap, the rap genre, and that's what I grew up listening to. But I'm not a super credible rapper, you know what I mean? But I love working with rappers here in the scene who are awesome, with like R&B artists, or people in different genres. So that's why I just love doing everything. It's so much fun.
Wow. It must be so hard to get into that headspace of songwriting, like you make this song, you think would sound good if so and so sung it, or someone
Yeah.
like this sung it. It must be interesting getting that headspace, and also being
Yeah.
that open to say, I think my songs are good enough that I can sell them to other people. I don't know how I feel about that, because every song I make, I'm like, this is my baby here. Like, you can't have this.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I really got into like that whole, like, you know, the songwriting. I mean, it's not like I'm in the scene, but like listening to so many podcasts of all these like huge like songwriters who are like, you know, super huge, but they're really in the background. Like they're just known in the industry. Like, you know, I don't know, Justin Tranter or like Max Martin or all these guys. And they're like, all of them, they all say the same thing. It's like it's an abundance mindset. It's
Mm.
like when you make the music, you feel like it's the best song I've ever made and I'll never make something good again. Like I always have that feeling when I do
Yeah.
it, but it's like being able to tell my brain, this is an emotion I'm feeling because I'm in the moment, but I know I can for sure do something else that's good afterwards, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So managing to detach myself like that, and that's helped me a lot, being able to sell song. And of course, every now and then, you know, I give someone a song and then I'm like, oh no, it didn't go exactly the way I was hoping, when they reinterpret it, because they don't always interpret it the way that you wrote it, right? Sometimes
Yeah.
there's variations, of course, because it has to be for them. So learning to detach myself from that, but it is hard, yeah.
That's it. That, I mean, it's incredible that you're doing all these things as well. But I think that's a really good point to make. Like, for small artists, you have to kind of be spinning quite a few plates, don't you, as well,
Yeah.
to get the ball rolling. You know, you got to
Oh
have
yeah.
different sources to get things from, and to spread you really. Unless you're that like one sort of super incredible artist that gets picked up and it just happens, which is one
Yep.
in a million, isn't it? You have to
Yeah.
really be building yourself. I started reacting to other artists just in the off chance some people would listen to my music, you know. So that's why I did this, you know. So
Yeah.
we all have extra things that we do. Kind of gone off tangent here, but who inspired you to make music then? Was it your parents?
Ooh, yeah, I would say so, honestly. Like they're definitely been my biggest supporters from the very start. Like with them, it was always very clear. It was as long as I don't like, you know, mess around in school and drop out and just, you know, don't do anything, then they'll 100% support me, and they really have. Like, you know, they enrolled me in piano classes when I started doing this like MIDI stuff. So I have a theory background as well. Like I did jazz piano.
Wow.
And they, you know, they like always pushed me and stuff, and supported even back then. And so you're a musician, so you know when you start doing music, it's so bad, and
Yeah,
but you think it's great, right? And like the
yeah, you
better you
do.
get, the more you actually think like, oh, you know, you see imperfections and stuff. So when I started, I thought I was so amazing, but like and I was posting my stuff on YouTube, but it was terrible. And I had so many people like, you know, trashing me, saying, go, you know, go kill yourself, you suck, all that stuff. But my parents were like the one people in my corner, like always supporting, even when the music was terrible. They would still say like, you know, it's great and stuff. So definitely, yeah,
uh,
they inspired me for sure in terms of like being fearless and just going for it, even if I didn't have the support at the time. Now I do have support, but you know, when I started, it was a different story. So yeah.
well, that teenage music where you know your voice is still breaking, you're just figuring out how to produce.
Exactly.
If I go back to that stuff, that's only for me. Nobody else can hear that, you know.
Exactly.
But
Yo,
it's
they have
such
my
a great
songs.
learning
They
curve.
play it sometimes, and I'm like, yo, don't play this stuff. They still have it. You know what I mean? I've deleted it. Like it's hard to find online, although there are a couple
Yeah.
stragglers that are there. But yeah,
It's great to have that support from your parents. I kind of had half
yeah.
and half. Like they paid for the lessons, but at the same time, I was getting into metal music. My dad was like, "It's the stuff of Satan," you know, and
Oh
everything like
yeah.
that. So I had like a real like mixed match of like support. But anyway, it's a lot harder to get behind metal if you've never heard, you know,
Yes.
stuff like that. Um,
Totally.
so how would you describe the music that you typically create? I've only heard one song from you so far.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
is that the music you typically create?
No, well, actually, so when I started, it was actually very rap. Like I was actually a rapper at the beginning,
Right.
and then after a couple of years, I was like, man, this like I'm not that good at that. Like it doesn't really fit me as a personality. Also, like you know. So then I transitioned more into pop, and then I started doing some more like mainstreamish type of pop, I guess, or
Mm,
urban pop. And now there's a blend. Like I do some rap inspired tracks like Bad Guy. That's like my rap style, I guess. Then I have
yeah.
some really more like acoustic guitar type pop. Actually, my most popular song, I'll send it to you afterwards. It's called Butterflies. That one is like just the guitar and me singing. And then I have a couple of more R&B-ish type of tracks as well. So it's really a varied type of approach. Again, the
Well,
only common thread in all of my songs, I like to think at least, is really the melody. Like I always try to have a catchy melody. And sometimes you can read the lyrics and you're like, I don't know what this guy's saying. It's true. It's because I'll sacrifice the lyric if I can get a good melody out of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I always record just like, like gibberish, just like random stuff. And then I have the melody and then I assemble like, okay, chorus, pre-chorus, whatever type of thing. And then I
Yeah.
plug words in there. So the common thread is always, I want a melody that's catchy, that you can hear the chorus, like, when the song starts. And then by the time the first verse ends and then you get to the chorus again, you remember it and you can sing it. That's kind of the thing I really always try to do each time.
Fantastic. It sounds like I want to listen to the rest of yours. I'm really intrigued when I hear artists that are trying out lots of different things. It makes me want to dive into the whole sort of discography to see where you're going and maybe unpick what you are, your essence
Yeah.
as an artist,
Yeah.
rather than your genre. So I don't want to pigeonhole you into any genre.
Yeah. I mean,
Really.
frankly, like it has actually been for branding purposes, it's quite difficult what I'm doing
Mm,
because it's so much easier if like you have one genre, like if your fans know exactly what to expect, it's so much easier to like market and everything. But for me, it's like every song is almost like a whole different project,
yeah.
like a marketing thing, because it's like sometimes I'll do like a hip hop type song. I even did like drill inspired melodic stuff, you know what I mean? And then I
Yeah.
even did like slightly, I'm not gonna call it punk because it's not really like that, but punk inspired pop rock type stuff as well. So it's like it's
Yeah.
all over the place, you know what I mean? And I have different fan bases as well. Like I have some who really love the pop stuff but don't like the rap, and some
Yeah.
who only like the rap but don't like the pop. You know what I mean? So it's definitely a challenge.
Yeah.
But again, for me, like I said, I'm an artist, but I'm also all these other things. And
Yeah.
so because I'm not only an artist, I'm just okay with myself experimenting because I want to also enjoy it, And I feel like I'd be a bit bored if I always did the same type of thing.
Yeah. And some of my favorite artists are the ones that do try and do different things and that are polarizing, that people are going to hate and then love. You think back to the Beatles when they started doing their studio stuff,
Yeah,
that was so polarizing, when they were doing that,
true.
people hated it and then they'd love it later on. And, so I'm always down for that kind of thing. And I think it says more about you as a solo artist than anything. But like you say, you've got other things going on too. So it's nice to just have that as your own form of expression and not feel like, oh, I have to make another one of this again. I kind of
Exactly.
feel like you and I would probably get on quite well talking about music for ages because like
Oh yeah.
I have like a general like 80s pop album, and then I have one that's AI made
Oh,
music.
okay.
So I'm very different in terms of my albums.
Yeah.
Madness. Um,
Cool.
so background for Bad Guy then, how did it come about?
Good one. Yeah. So that song, man, honestly, I produced the beat. So I always start like while I produce, I kind of hum like, random melodies and stuff.
Yeah,
So I'm just there making the beat. And I'm like, oh, I like this. This is cool. And then I came up with that bridge part. Where it's like, this is the last time that could be the bad guy. Blah, blah, blah. And then at that point, I was like, okay, that sounds like a cool line. And then I
yeah, that's
built
your
the rest
hook.
of the song from there. And then I was like, damn it. You know how many hours I spent trying to get the words bad guy in the chorus? I just couldn't because, like I said, like I want it to be catchy and I want like even not just the melody, but just the way, when you say the words, it has to also sound pleasant, right? And I
Natural.
couldn't get a way to get like those words in the chorus with that melody and make it sound proper. It just didn't. So I was like, whatever, this is kind of weird because usually I always have the title in the chorus, but I didn't. So I was like, whatever. So I just did that. And yeah, I just, I was doing it. I was like, this sounds pretty cool. And then I reached out to this other guy, Edu XR. I actually also don't know how to say his name, so I just call him Ed. But I said to this is a guy we just connected on Instagram like randomly, maybe like 3 or 4 months before. I featured on a couple of his tracks, and I was like, yo, do you want to try like a verse on this? Because I feel like it would be boring if it was just me.
Yeah.
And just have because he has very different style, right? So this guy sends it back like an hour later, like the whole thing, and I was like, man, this is crazy. And then for the outro, I also this is just me experimenting. I was like, let me just try adding some violins and stuff, just do
Yeah.
something orchestral just for fun, because I had produced another song for another artist, and he wanted it totally orchestral. So I thought, let me do that for myself because I hadn't done it on one of my songs. And then Ed just like added all these like crazy vocal effects and everything, and it was just really cool. So
I'd say
yeah,
I
that
love the
song.
ending. It just kind of like some sort of like weirdly emotional crescendo to the end of the
Right,
track you weren't
exactly.
expecting. I loved it.
Yeah.
So generally, your creative process, does it start with a beat or does it?
Yeah,
start with lyrics,
always.
or
Yeah. Man, I like all the people I see, because I get a lot of artists who come to the studio and they're like, I have lyrics, let's make a beat with that. And I'm like, man, that is so hard to do. I find,
Mm, yeah,
to tailor a production to existing lyrics, I find it's so much easier to do the production and the lyrics at the same time. You know what I mean? Like make the production
yeah,
and hum the lyrics, like record everything, just random freestyles. Like I'll just put the beats 10 times and just record random stuff, random words or melodies, and then
yeah.
afterwards cut everything and assemble and then plug in the lyrics. That's my process 9 times out of 10.
Well,
And it was the process for this song.
especially like lyrics without a melody. They come into the studio and just say, I've got lyrics, but no
Yeah,
melody to it. How do
yeah.
you even start to sing that? That is
It's
so
hard.
difficult.
It's
I mean,
difficult. Yeah,
sometimes a melody comes to you and you can kind of roll with that, but on the
it's
whole,
difficult.
I'm similar. I have to have something played, or something has to be playing for me to come up with lyrics to it.
Yeah, yeah.
They're more of an afterthought when when it's me. I don't know if that's the same for you,
Same
but
for me. I'm
yeah,
definitely, plus English. It's not even my first language, right? I mean, technically it is from my dad, but I also grew up like speaking French from my mom, and I went to the French school system. So I grew up. I guess there was a bit of an imbalance of languages. Probably
yeah,
by the time I was 10, my English caught up, and then when I came to Canada, it was like, of course, because English people speak English in Toronto. But just because of all the different languages, like I'm not very lyrically inclined. I like to think I'm really a
yeah.
very melody person. So you can look at the lyrics of all my songs. I don't have the vocabulary of like Kendrick Lamar or guys like that. That's also why for rap, I didn't feel like I was that credible because, generally in pop music, it tends to be a bit more simple,
Yeah.
packaged so that like for every person can listen and it's easy. Rather than like for the really complex rap stuff, I'm not that great at super difficult lyrics.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind
I
of a
say
process.
I didn't find them too simple. I didn't find them overly
Yeah,
complex. There's some nice
yeah,
middle ground from that track, which is really nice. I think I found the genre to be more on the kind of maybe emo rap trap kind of vibe
yes,
to it. It was very. I don't know if that's what you were trying to go for,
yeah.
but like even down to the way the lyrics are sung with that kind of like moodiness within them, it did work, and it was that vibe.
Appreciate it. Yeah, for me, really, it's always if it's gonna be a rap inspired track, all I need is just catchy melodies. Like it has to be a sung rap, right?
Yeah, yeah,
With a catchy like chorus, and then because I watched your reaction, I really love that you noted like the Middle Eastern thing. I forget what the name
yeah.
of that scale is, but it was like that thing where you have the root notes, and then you go up
Oh,
by one semitone, and then you like do a tremolo type of stuff. I
it's not
recorded that line.
Mixolydian mode or something like
Yes,
that. Yeah,
exactly. So I
yeah,
recorded that line like 10 times and I was like, I don't know if anyone's ever gonna notice that I did that. So I love the sound of it, you know what I mean? So when I heard you say
Well, I'm
Middle
glad you
Eastern,
think I've
that's
got a kind of good ear for some things
yeah. No,
anyway.
it's fire. That's dope. I mean, that's why I wanted to do the reaction. So that's amazing. But yeah, so just experimenting, but keeping that catchiness, just that for people it's pleasant to hear, that's and just so that they come back and they listen and they can sing it back. That's
Yeah.
that's really what I'm going for all the time, regardless of if it's like a rap inspired or R&B or something else.
Yeah. Well,
So yeah,
even the track itself isn't simplistic in a sense, but in some ways it is. It follows, the rules, but it starts almost feeling very Spanish, and it's kind of got a
yeah,
Spanish guitar vibe. And then it goes into the Middle Eastern thing, and then it's ending with this sort of orchestral thing. And you just think,
yeah,
what you kind of think what's going on, but you don't feel unnerved or like there's been a sharp left turn. It's
yeah.
comfortably evolving, I'd say,
Yes,
which works
exactly.
well.
So again, that's always the thing too. It's like having a bit of like unknown and weird almost, but having always some familiarity that people can, like because the familiarity brings people in and makes it comfortable, but then the extra stuff makes it like, oh, I remember this track later. That track had this funny thing that happened or
Well, that's
something,
it. When
you
you
know?
release another track now, you can go, I'm going to do more of this sort of Middle Eastern vibe. And someone who's heard your old stuff will go, he's doing more of that. And I
Yeah,
remember that. I feel comfortable. I feel secure. It's okay.
yeah,
But it's like when a band releases a new album, they do something completely different. It's just so over everyone's heads that they don't
yeah.
like it. But if they slowly tease it in over a few albums and then evolve to something else, then everyone's okay with it. It's such
That's
a
true.
weird world, like human world we live in, where we like that comfortableness, don't we, with
Yeah,
new stuff.
yeah, yeah.
So if you could give people a reason to listen to this song, what would it be?
Just catchy vibes, man. This is like the type of track, you know what I mean? You're in the car vibing with your friends. You want to hear a song that's like hard hitting that you can sing, that that you enjoy, and it's also not taking myself too seriously, you know what I mean? And actually, I didn't even tell you about the meaning exactly, but like bad guy, what I mean by that, obviously, like, and you can probably tell by my vibe already, I don't like to think that I'm a bad guy. Like, I'm definitely not like,
I,
you know, the gangster type or anything like that.
if there was
But
a
really, the
percentage that I thought you'd be a bad guy, I don't think you would have landed on 8%.
exactly, yeah. But so really, the meaning though behind it was actually just the fact that, so you know, because you're a musician, it's like people have so many expectations of us. Like I have, you know, constantly people like, let's hang out, let's do this and that, and it's like, no, I'm at the studio, no, I'm at the studio, no, I'm at the studio. Like I literally cannot. And then sometimes it creates like resentment, or people start thinking that I don't care about them or whatever. And it's none of that. It's
Mm.
just like I have to focus on building this stuff that I'm trying to build because it's something that I believe in, and that I think creates joy for myself and lots of other people. And so it's like basically it's like fine, you know, if you think I'm the bad guy for this, then like whatever, you know, screw it, type of thing. That was kind of the overall message
Yeah.
of the
But I
track.
think
Yeah.
from the positivity of the song generally, it felt more of like a celebration of the fact that you're in the studio.
Yeah.
But I like what you
Yes.
said about having to say to people, no, I'm in the studio, because general people who don't get the sort of production world seem to think like because you're in charge of your own time and you say no in the studio, they feel like you're kind of blowing them off. When really it's like I have to work on this, and they don't seem to get the
Yeah.
fact that this is like your job. And even though you could spend days and days on something, they don't seem to understand that that's a thing you can do. And, you know, you can't just go whenever you want, even though you could
Yeah.
go and do something whenever you wanted to. It's not the right thing to do. And that, you know, you have
Yeah.
to be there and use your time wisely.
And it takes time. And like, yo, like I said, so I produce my tracks, I write my tracks. Like I didn't have ghostwriters on this one. I recorded everything. I did not mix this track. I sent it to an engineer because, frankly, I can mix, but I know engineers who mix better than me, so I'd rather give that to them. But then the whole marketing, like everything, I do by myself. I don't have a manager. I don't have anything. You know what I mean? So all of that stuff is like so much extra planning, and you know what I mean. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm glad
it's
you
it's
started
definitely a
talking
lot.
about that. So, is there anything you've learned from, I don't know, marketing, to send, like, say, sending to other people that has worked really well for you and has
Hell
impacted
yeah,
you
man.
positively?
Yeah, well, I can tell you the story about this other track I did because that's like was the start of so many other things. So I met my girlfriend, who's now my fiance. She's actually
Congrats.
she's thank you. She's originally Indian, from a place called Kerala, and I made a song about her right when I met her called Kerala, and you know it came out and kind of no one really cared. It was like whatever, just like another track. And then I was like, you know what? Let me experiment with Facebook ads. And at the time, I was experimenting, but in Canada. But I said, you know what? Let me experiment in Kerala. And the song like went crazy. It went on like the Spotify viral chart in India. Like it was a whole thing. And
Wow.
then all my songs afterwards, especially my biggest song, now it's not this one, it's another one called Butterflies. It's crazy in India. So now 90, maybe not 90, but like 80% of my fan base is in India.
Okay.
And then 10% is like America. And then the
Yeah.
rest is like Canada, UK, and other countries.
So
So
how did that work? So you
Facebook
bought
ads,
Facebook
man.
ads,
Yeah, like people
targeted
need to
it
try. Yes,
in India,
like
in Kerala,
yeah,
and that got sent to people obviously on their phones as they're scrolling in India,
yeah.
and then the track blew from
It
that.
went crazy. So
How
my recommendation really is just like you have like all musicians who are listening need to try Facebook ads. Try it as much as possible. If it doesn't work, try different configurations, different like countries, different whatever. You know what I
yeah.
mean? And just experiment all the time and refresh. And it costs money, it's true. But hey, if you're doing music as a business, that like the marketing expense goes, you know, you can offset your taxes with that. So that
Yeah.
that works. It's a business expense. So just try, spend the money. It's worth it to give it a shot.
Yeah, that was my
Because it
next
can work.
question then.
Yeah.
Obviously with ads, how much you put in will reflect how much you get back. Um, is it an expensive endeavor, or is it feasible? Because we're all like, as independent artists, we got no money.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Yeah. I will be honest. You know, depending again. So I don't know if you know this, but the ads, the cost depends on the country actually. So part of
Right.
why I also was like, let me try India is actually India's it's much cheaper to run ads over there than it is in
Right.
Canada. And Canada's so expensive. I know in UK it's really expensive too.
I think
So, but I
Canada's more
know,
expensive to go
yeah,
to.
yeah. But I
Yeah.
know in India it's really cheap. Philippines is really cheap. Indonesia is really cheap.
Yeah.
Like Bangladesh, Pakistan is really cheap. So I would say just try stuff, and
So
yeah,
like
you gotta experiment. It does cost money.
if I
Yeah.
decided not this week to not have a takeaway, would I be able to put that into Facebook ads and get something
Yeah.
positive from it?
Oh
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Skip a meal, guys. Skip a takeaway.
Do it.
Right?
No, it's worth it. But the thing is too, so I mean, I didn't give you the whole strategy here. Another thing that I did that played a big part, and that was a lot of work,
Yeah.
is so you'd run these ads and people like your posts, right? And then I tried to DM as many people as possible. And I'm literally like, yo, you just like my song, like my ads, but so I'm an artist from Canada. Here's the song that you liked. Let me know if you like it. And that's a lot of work. I would DM like 100 people per day, and I did that for like a year. You know what I
Wow.
mean?
Wow.
But a lot of people respond and they're like, oh yeah, this is dope. I've just played it for my family or for my friends or whatever. So that actually works, but you just have to actually do it. And also don't do it too much because then Instagram blocks you because it thinks you're like harassing people,
Which
spamming,
is
you know what
fair
I
enough.
mean?
Which is fair enough.
Yeah.
But
So you have to do like 20 at a time and then wait like an hour and then do another 20 and then wait and then do it. You know what I mean?
I mean, these are great tips. For one of my later question was, how do you feel the internet has impacted your approach to being an artist? You're kind of answering this anyway. These are good strategies, viral strategies to use. Obviously,
Yeah.
using your standard like Instagram, TikTok, things like that are all
Yeah.
things that we're all trying to do to promote ourselves. YouTube,
Yeah.
for example. But those small little tips there, they're very
So
handy.
important. It's really helpful because the thing is, most I mean, I'm saying this, but I do this too sometimes. Most artists just put out a song and we just expect people to like go and listen to it. But the thing
Mm,
is, we have to give people a reason to be interested because there's so many. Because I don't know if you notice this thing, but it's like for us, when you make a song, it's like the most important thing to you, right? But
yeah.
when someone else makes a song, like why would you care? Like why do I care about other people's music, right? But sometimes when we make a
Yeah.
song, we
Give me a
assume.
reason. Give me a reason to listen to,
Exactly. But we
yeah.
always assume that other people would or should care, but of course no one does. So we have to try to do something to so it's either reaching out to people
Yeah.
or making content that's interesting. Now I will say I'm very like poor on the content side. Like for my TikTok, I haven't posted a TikTok in like 8 months. You know what I mean? I
Yeah,
haven't
yeah.
been consistent with that. And but I know that I should, but at least I do reach out to people, which helps,
Mm,
right? But I think for every artist, if you manage to be consistent and post stuff all the time and reach out to people and pay for ads and do all these extra things, if the song is good too, of course, then it is going to generate some
yeah.
results.
I think you have to know and believe in what you're making and
Yeah.
know that it's good. Um,
Yes.
but yes, I seem to be getting from all the interviews I've done so far, the same message is coming across, which is to connect with people.
Yeah.
And what you were saying about just putting it out and expecting people to listen to it, I helped this guy produce about 3 or 4 songs for his album, and the whole time I was saying, you need to get on the social media, you need to be able to promote it on those because that's how it's done. It's like, no, when it's made, I'm just gonna send it out in the world and see if people respond. And I was like, no one's going to listen
That's
to
not
it.
going to
No one's
work.
going to
It
know.
does nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, you got no presence at all. No one's going to know. Okay, so it's a different world. You can't just put it onto vinyl and put it in a record store anymore. You've got to try and promote yourself online first.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that did fall through because I don't think the heart was there. I just kind of expected the universe to do it for him, and you've got to kind of get the universe
Yeah.
to come to you, really.
Exactly. I mean, the thing is too is like we see a lot of one-hit wonders sometimes, and we think it's a one-hit wonder, but really they've had like lots of stuff behind. Like Olivia Rodrigo, like her first song is like the biggest song in the world, but she's been in the industry for like 10 years before that. She has all these connections. She has all this team behind her. You know what I mean? So no one
Yeah.
who makes it out of nowhere actually made it out of nowhere. They've been doing music for a long time. Maybe it was just private, and they've assembled a whole team and a whole plan for years,
Yeah.
right? So if I'm like random person from down the street comes to me and is like, let's just make a song and then I'm just gonna release it and do nothing, I always tell them, bro, this is not gonna work. Another thing, advice I would give to artists is don't release an album just like, especially if like no, you don't have fans yet. Don't release an album, release singles because no
Yeah.
one cares about your album. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? You spend tons of money to make like 15 songs. People will listen to 2 songs and then they'll like go to sleep and that's it.
Yeah.
It's better
And
to, if you have 15 songs, it's better to put out 1 song per month for a whole year and then drop an album,
yeah.
right?
No, I mean, I'm millennial, so I love I love albums, and I've been making albums, and I know it's not the right thing to do, but I
Yeah.
love making
Dude,
albums.
I love albums too. It's my favorite thing in the world, but it's just like this new like music industry now, like just the way I'm seeing
You're
how
not
it
gonna
works.
do as
It's
well,
it's
and I
just like
know
if
I'm
you
not
don't
doing as
have
well.
fans yet, then don't do an album. If you have fans, then like now I have people asking me to do an album. I'm still doing singles. I've been doing this for like dropping songs as an artist since 2018. I've dropped like
Yeah.
60 singles or something. I haven't
Wow.
done an album yet. Yeah, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Now I'm preparing slowly to think about it. But
Well, are
like
you
I'm talking
taking the
about,
next level up? Are you just doing an EP or is it
yeah,
album?
I'm probably gonna do that first. Yeah, but I'm saying for like a random person who's like never done music and they want to do it for the first time, I always tell them don't do an album. Like start with a few singles
Mm,
and then try. Just because it's like because I know it's expensive to hire a producer, go to a studio, do all these things. It costs so much
yeah.
money, right?
Or record an album and just release them all as singles. Because when you
Yeah,
release a
exactly.
single, there's something more precious about it. You can spend more time promoting it. You can make it seem really special. You know, you can tease it for a long time. So you can
Exactly.
do that when you release an album. You can't then go back and tease each track, really, can you? So,
Yeah.
yeah, I agree. I agree. As much as I love
Yeah.
the album and I will
Oh,
continue
so
to
do
make
I, man.
albums,
Yeah.
it's the way forward. The future is just singles. You know, it's a very quick fire world we live in at the moment. And
Yeah,
yeah.
man. Another
Um,
thing too, just on that topic, is I don't know if you've seen the playlist thing, like by do you know Lauv,
no.
the artist? Okay, Lauv is a huge like American pop guy.
Okay.
He basically called it a playlist. It was basically an album, but he released one song per week for like I don't know 3 months, and then at the end, it was an
It was
album, but he
complete.
just called it a playlist. Yeah,
Well,
but
that
that's a
works
new.
nicely because then it gives each track its time to shine. Then doesn't it? You know,
Exactly. Yeah.
it
So people
seems
were
to
like
be a way
looking
people are
forward
do. Yeah,
to the next one. Yeah.
it definitely seems to be a way that artists are doing it these days. When they release an album, you kind of pre-save it, don't you? And then they release like
Yeah.
5 or 6 of the tracks before it comes out. Whereas usually it'd be 1 or 2 singles.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely changed. The game has changed.
It
So,
has.
what is next for you then, Kaj?
Man, honestly, just continuing on my like grind of like, independent singles. I do have two that are prepped. I'm not sure which one I'm putting out first between
Okay.
the two. One is R&B, or R&B-ish pop, and the
Yeah.
other is like super alternative. It's actually very different from anything I've done. It still has that pop catchy melody, but the
Yeah.
production is like all over the place. So I'll see. I'm not sure yet, but just enjoying the journey, man. Like I love music. I love connecting with everyone. I love the producing. I love the writing, and I love being the artist. So just doing
Yeah.
all of those things, trying to have a good 2023, and
Nice.
still keep increasing the fans. Like I'm still doing ads as well. Like I'm just gonna keep it constantly
If it
and
works, it
just
works.
keep growing. Yeah,
I think
exactly.
it feels like because you're just doing singles, it's like a really mini album cycle that you're doing.
Yeah,
So each release, it's sort of like a small hamster wheel churning out. So there's no real break there. It's just a constant kind of turnaround, isn't it? But
yeah,
that
yeah.
works nicely because it keeps your fans ticking over. It keeps them remembering you and your image and
Absolutely.
popping up every
Yeah,
month or two. So
yeah.
yeah,
Another
fantastic.
thing too, I don't know. I'm actually quite sure that you guys should have that something like that in the UK, but I'm gonna look into that deeply here in Canada. But there's actually government grants available to apply to get to make music where you can actually get like a couple $1,000 or $10,000 or whatever, and then you can use it towards like production or like your studio expenses and stuff like that. So I actually got one in 2019, and I used that grant to do the promotion like the ad stuff for that Kerala song that blew up. Actually, that was thanks to the grant money from Canada. But there are lots of other like
Wow.
agencies like that here available. So I'm gonna look into that deeper for this year to try
I
and
may
make more
look into that
applications.
too.
But I'm sure that in the UK you guys have some things like that, and
I
it's
hope we
it's great.
do.
It's for
I
indie
mean, it's the
musicians,
cost of living crisis at the moment. So, bread costs £2 billion.
right? Yeah,
But yeah, you never know. They might have something for that. I know the arts have been a focus post COVID to try and boost that for the economy again. So, it's worth
yeah.
looking. That's a really good tip. So, have a
Yeah,
look
yeah,
in
yeah.
your own
Because
country, see if there's grants.
the thing is with a lot of those grants too is that there's a lot of writing that you have to do. You have to submit marketing plans and stuff like that. And a lot of artists, they're not very business savvy, so they just
Mm,
click and then they like close it. They're like, whatever, I won't do it. But then the fact is, this money is available and it's there. So if you're willing to try, you know what I mean, to get this thing, you could end up getting a few $1,000s and a few £1,000, and that's you can use that for everything, and it's pretty good. It's worth a
nice.
try.
Nice. I like money.
Yeah,
So, yeah, let's
yeah.
go for it. Brilliant. Well, thank you for coming on. All the links are down below in the description. Go and check out by Guy, which is a really, really good track. I could not recommend it more. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. It was great.
Fantastic. Goodbye.
Oh my word.